this next scene from the first Doctor Strange movie, likely because folks were not ready for such blasphemy and seeing a sorcerer slit a priest's throat with the blood splatting all over the Bible.
There is no afterlife, and I can prove it to you.
No one can prove such a thing.
I can. Watch.
Notice that the Book of Cagliostro is placed over the Bible, as though Satan's lies trump the Word of God.
Wow. Wow.
In Marvel Cinematic...
Nah. All right, okay. Nah.
I think I understand why he finally, why that man in the comments come and say he had to take up.
Nah. I think I understand.
Cause to me, personally, this is a little too much to just be taken in.
That's insane.
Who did that? That was Disney or that was Marvel?
That was Marvel? The Marvel Disney? That was the Doctor Strange 2016? Did they lead the scene? They take the scene out of the movie?
For good reason? Cause, bro.
If you are a Christian that can still go around and profess that all of this is just fiction after watching this video, then I am lost for words. This is insane. Like, Good Fight Ministries Marvel DC War on God documentary part 2 is on a whole other level. We couldn't even watch the full thing. We thought we would have been able to binge the entire 2-hour documentary, but we only got up to the 3rd chapter after covering Doctor Strange and had to get up. It was crazy, like, and that opening scene is not even the full scene that is on Disney Plus. This is the full scene.
We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal.
Corinthians 2.
Chapter 4, verse 18.
I have always loved that verse.
It's also a favorite of mine. The truest passage in all our scripture.
Oh, I don't know about that. The book is full of truth.
No, not that book. That book promises eternity but fails to deliver.
The afterlife.
Afterlife is a contradiction. There is no afterlife. And I can prove it to you.
No one can prove such a thing.
I can.
Yeah, it started with a Bible verse quote in a deleted scene that is on Disney Plus. You could go verify it for yourself. I included the link to it in the description for anyone who has a Disney Plus subscription. This is like, it's no longer about little quips at God. I mean, it never was about little quips at God, and you would see it as you go along with the video, because the things that Joe and the guys at Good Fight Ministries reveal in this documentary is insane. Like, it's all truth. It's not even like it's fabricated or anything. Me and my buddy, we are hyperbolic how we express ourselves and stuff, but the information that they are bringing across, we were hyperbolic because it was so shocking that if we didn't laugh, we would have been crying. Literally, that's how we were feeling inside. If we weren't laughing at what we were hearing, we would have literally been crying in tears, because it's like, I made Marvel a part of my identity growing up as being, you know, the comic book fictional media nerd among my friends and stuff. And to hear all of this, things that I thought, like, you know, little references to God, was honoring God when I was a naive Christian without any discernment, to now hear it as I am a growing Christian. It's just, I know I'm slurring, but I'm lost for proper words to describe how I feel, especially after watching only the first half of the documentary, because we were like, we can't watch this full thing in one sitting, and it's something else. So As you get into the video, I highly recommend that you go check out Good Fight Ministries Marvel DC War on God Part 2. You might not be able to watch it in one sitting, you might have to do multiple sittings, but go and watch it. If you are a Christian that can buy Marvel comics and go to see their movies opening night and stuff, spend that $9 and get that documentary. It would edify your spirit to a point like it is. The knowledge that you're going to get from it, the understanding, and you would be without excuse to say that all of this is just fiction. I've been dealing with it a lot when it comes to my Christian preview to videos on Doctor Strange and Sandman, where the entire comment section is people telling me, oh, it's not pornography, it's just fictional magic, witchcraft and magic is not. The things that you hear in that documentary, especially about Aleister Crowley, you would be without excuse as a Christian to say it's just fiction. So much aspects of this is not just fiction. And as we get into the documentary and our reaction to only the first half, and we can't even put up a lot of the things that were in the documentary even in the first half, because this video will not see the light of day on YouTube at all. Like, you have to watch the documentary for yourself to really understand why our reactions are like this throughout this video. And if you do end up enjoying the video, then please ensure to leave a like and subscribe for more fiction media breakdowns from a Christian perspective, along with Bible breakdowns, because we're not just going to be doing Christian breakdowns of fiction anymore, because things are getting much more dark, and I don't want to keep covering this dark stuff. I want to get into what the Word of God says and share some of my favorite Bible characters and Bible stories with you guys. And ensure, of course, to check out Good Fight Ministries, where all the links will be in the description down below, along with the link to the documentaries. If you are a Christian that could go and watch Marvel opening night or play their games and such, then I highly recommend that you watch this documentary. Pay the $9. I think it will be like $20 now for part 1 and part 2, but watch the documentary, or you can rent it for $4. But with all that being said, my brain is a bit flustered because I'm trying to record this hot after watching the documentary. Hope you enjoy, and always remember, these videos are not to tell you what you can and cannot watch, read, or play, but so that you simply no longer blindly consume. He was being hyperbolic. The whole thing about Little Crowley was us just being hyperbolic. That's how it. No, that's how it went down. So he read Revelation that was like, I ain't care about that things with serving with God forever. I want to be with the devil.
I prefer the dragon, the beast,
and the scarlet woman as being more excited.
Oh,
and this is and people, oh my goodness.
You watching torture and eternal torment? I was like, yeah, I like that. Me like it. That is crazy.
Oh my.
More exciting. I reveled in the description of torment. One may suspect, moreover, a strain of congenital masochism. I like to imagine myself in agony. In particular, liked to identify myself with the beast, whose number is the number of a man, 666. So evil was Crowley that he referred to himself as the Great Beast 666. Crowley repeatedly ended his personal letters with that title. Crowley took the biblical name of the beast, that is the title used frequently for the Antichrist throughout the book of Revelation, in the hope that he himself would fulfill the prophecies attributed to the Antichrist. Crowley so identified himself with the Antichrist of the book of Revelation that even his own mother, Emily, began to call him by that name when he acted extraordinarily evil.
Nah, she going shit though. She going shit though. Nah, that is mad. That's nah. You watch your son and call him the beast. Man.
You can get put out by his after 12.
Man. You. She accepted it. She was.
You will get me put out. Maybe only 25 minutes. My mom said she go straight. No stops are waving us down. Like, Man just showed up to Heaven's Gate and God was like, nope, nope, one time, you know where you're going. Oh, jeez.
You know, it's just think your son joking all the time about that. And then you hear this so much where you was like, you know what? It's a phase. Okay, beast coming. Huh?
Beast wise. Oh my God.
Nah. Nah. That...
Oh my goodness.
Mad, bro.
Despite Crowley's admiration for his father, the preacher, he grew to disdain Christianity as he felt that it conflicted with his perverse sexual desires, including homosexuality, his desire to have sex with animals or bestiality, and sadomasochism, and even child molestation. Christianity...
You can't get past 5 seconds though. 5. Come, Joe. Joe, just give me 5 seconds. Oh goodness.
No wonder that man in the comments he had to take a break.
He had to take a
This is hit it, bro.
We can't go 5
He's
seconds.
hitting from left, right, bro.
Joe and holding back. Oh my
Nah,
God.
bro. My
In
boy.
Jesus' teaching,
Nah, I go it, man.
to love God with your whole heart. Incredibly, Marvel depicts God, the creator, as an evil sorcerer, the enemy of humanity who must be
you have to be bold
opposed.
at it.
He is first identified as a 31st century sorcerer named Siseneg, who greatly desires the power of all other magical beings. Since Siseneg has the ability to time travel and absorb the magical powers of other beings, he travels back through the centuries and robs each sorcerer of his power along the way. The supreme sorcerer, Dr. Strange, travels back in time following Siseneg, trying unsuccessfully to prohibit Siseneg at every stop from absorbing everyone else's power and becoming God. Siseneg finally ventures all the way to the very dawn of creation and recreates the universe, becoming the god of the mainstream 616 Marvel Universe. In his mission to become God, Siseneg declares, "And once I become God, the universe and beyond shall be mine, to do with as I will. Everything will be reborn as I desire it." By recreating the entire mainstream 616 Marvel Universe and having power even beyond it, as he states, he will also be God of the Marvel Omniverse, which expands from the foundational Marvel Multiverse. Now, having become God and existing before the creation of all things, Siseneg states, "I have achieved my godhood." Siseneg, who is described by the writer as possessing all extant power and as having absorbed all power through all timelines, then recreates the entirety of the Marvel Universe, declaring, "Time turns and begins again with me. When you remember this, think not of the man called Siseneg, but the God called Genesis." The name Genesis, of course, is an obvious reference to the first book of the Hebrew and Christian Bible, which records the creation account, known as Genesis. Doctor Strange is now shown wondering whether Siseneg has recreated the universe all over again for the second time, or if he simply repeated the first creation. However, this is where even more blatant references to the biblical God come into play. Even before Siseneg's recreation of the universe, he leaves his mark on the universe and planet Earth in such a way that he is obviously being portrayed as a biblical God of creation. Here we see that Marvel works in the biblical narrative of the biblical cities Sodom and Gomorrah. Here we see for what he calls their, quote, sin and degradation. In fact, we read in the Bible, in the book of Genesis, "Then the Lord said, the outcry of Sodom and Gomorrah is indeed great, and their sin is exceedingly grave." Under the backdrop of what is portrayed as Siseneg's unmerciful character, Doctor Strange is made to look like a compassionate good guy. Doctor Strange pleads with Siseneg not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, claiming that their sin isn't really that bad and that he doesn't really know them. Nevertheless,
he's
in the next
Abraham.
panels, we see that Siseneg is destroying Sodom and Gomorrah with fire and brimstone. The biblical book of Genesis states in chapter 19 that, quote, "Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens." We also read in Genesis chapter 19 that Lot and his family escaped, but Lot's wife looked back and was destroyed by the Lord. In Marvel's Gnostic version of the story, the parallels are absolutely undeniable, as we see Lot and his family in the first panel escaping the judgment, with Lot warning his wife in the next panel, "Do not look back, wife. We must put our time of wickedness from our minds." Then we also see Siseneg create an Eden-like garden with two ape-like hominids, which is
He does something.
Adam and Eve was monkeys. Wait.
It's a...
So that's where the whole. Let me continue. Yes. Now I read the No, I just went on the Marvel wiki and read the whole thing with Cisneg and Sodom and Gomorrah. You know, like the reason we know what the reason for God destroying Sodom and Gomorrah, this and whatnot, right? In it, right, when Doctor Strange went, he was like, being hyperbolic, right? But he was like, but the sin isn't that bad. Like, come on now. Just because they're sinful doesn't mean there's a good reason to destroy them. And Cisneg and Doctor Strange and Baron Mordo went down to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Anytime traveling. Because they were like magical wizards. The people in Sodom and Gomorrah, according to the Marvel story, was magical wizards and whatnot, right? They try to kill Doctor Strange and almost kill him, right? And Cisneg was like, how about them not being bad again? Like, literally. Because I read it from the Marvel wiki. And I've been a bit hyperbolic on what went down, but it was literally like, Dr. Strange could even handle their magic, and he was like, you see? Sin and degradation are going to destroy them.
And then my boy went and created Adam and Eve as monkeys.
Adam and Eve as monkeys. Understood. Let me continue. After all, Mari, it's just fiction. Come on now.
When Marvel's Stan Lee, the executive vice president and publisher of Marvel Comics, read the wicked narrative that depicted the one true God, the creator, as evil, and worried about the public outcry over such an obvious attack on God, he demanded that the writer Steve Englehart and comic artist Frank Brunner do an immediate retraction. However, Brunner later acknowledged that he and Englehart flat out lied to Lee and wrote a fake fan letter from a fake minister praising the comic, trying to demonstrate to Lee that it would be acceptable to publicly condemn God. Frank Brunner admitted...
Wait. Pause. So they... Now, you remember last night when I was like, when we were just going over the trailer and thing, right? And I was just kicks in and stuff. We were saying like, how imagine being the CEO of Marvel at the time, right? And getting this comic pitched to you and whatnot. I like, big man, that too dark, we can't put it out. They write the man a fake fan letter, right? A fake fan letter telling him, saying that they love the comic from a supposedly a Christian person.
So that was their plan.
So that's how that went down.
I was like, yo, listen.
So Stanley did have some sense into seeing like, this too controversial.
These 500 people that say they don't like it, no, don't say about them, and say about this one person.
When the book came out, Stan Lee finally got hold of it. And I don't know, somebody pointed it out, or he read it, and he wrote us a letter saying, we can't do God. You're going to have to print in the letters column a retraction saying that this is not the God, this is just a God. Steve and I said, oh, come on, this is the whole point of the story. If we did that retraction of God, this is meaningless. So Steve happened to be on his way to Texas for something. This is when we were in California, and we cooked up this plot. We wrote a letter from a Reverend Billingsley in Texas, a fictional person, saying that one of the children in his parish brought him the comic book, and he was astounded and thrilled by it. And he said, wow, this is the best comic book I've ever read. And we signed it, Reverend so-and-so, Austin, Texas. And when Steve was in Texas, he mailed the letter so it had the proper postmark. Then we got a phone call from Roy, and he said, hey, about that retraction, I'm going to send you a letter. And instead of the retraction, I want you to print this letter. And it was our letter. We printed our letter. It shouldn't be too much of a shock.
These men out here plotting.
Wait. This is insane. So, I mean, I get the whole So Stanley didn't think to like double think about it. I mean, like, granted, like, I pretty like from the reactions I was getting on my the Sandman video, right, where Christian telling me it's not porn, it's not demonic and stuff. In today's time, I could understand why it was so believable, or even back then, because I wasn't alive back then, right? Obviously not. I like dated myself. That is like, this was happening 3 times my age, 3 times our age, right? This was 1960, 1970-ish, right? But they wrote a fake letter as a Christian pastor, reverend, whatever, saying that he loved the comic book about God, literally twisting the Bible, and about Sodom and Gomorrah, right? And saying that Adam and Eve were monkeys.
Apes to be more
Apes,
precise.
my bad. Apes to be more precise. And that was the. And these men was on a next level.
Christ.
can't support
Even
that.
many of the top rappers,
support
like
this. I wanna
Jay-Z,
be
the most successful rapper ever in the morning. And here we see Jay-Z wearing a
And
shirt.
tell me, oh my god.
And the
If you
church,
hear what I was talking about him, I was like,
you went to church school. And like, mommy, I love teaching Pastor Jim Hard on like the end of days and the Antichrist. That kind of cool. I want to be.
son, you cannot be him. No, mommy, if you hear we talking about him.
I want to be.
Nah. That be mad.
Like, no,
Mad, bro.
Mari. It's a career fair. Timmy want to be a firefighter. Jack want to be like his dad, a pastor. Henry want to be a policeman. Aleister, what do you want to be when you grow up? The Antichrist. The Antichrist. Take my mom. Oh, God.
Just imagine all the other parents' faces, bro.
Like,
Like,
turn
okay.
like,
I need to
I
share
want
it
this
first.
child expelled. Not out of the school, but out of the district. Or else I taking my child and I leave. We real like nonsense, man. Let me continue.
In Marvel's Silver Surfer number 10, volume 3, Stephen Englehart puts Crowley's teachings in the mouth of Galactus. Every man and every woman is a star. When Steve Englehart later worked on DC's Sorceress, Madame Xanadu,
Wait, no.
in deck cards that appear to be
You wanna know what's the crazy thing about that Silver Surfer thing? Kirby said, I don't know if they included it in this video, in this documentary, so we're only 17 minutes in. Jack Kirby, the guy who made Silver Surfer and thing, said that he went to the Bible because the regular like Spider-Man comics with guns and robbers and bandits and thing, he said it wasn't working at the time. He said he went to the Bible, he wanted something new, something cosmic. He said he went to the Bible and come up with Galactus and Silver Surfer.
I remember that.
And here you're hearing this one changing the words of Galactus to be right. This thing is just insane.
The thing that blew my head, blew my mind. My boy said, you know what? The regular Spider-Man comics teach and robbers ain't working. Let me go to the Bible for some inspiration. For the whole
Here we say that. Here we say it. Here's wording. And somehow, I ended up in the Bible.
Nah, nigga, nah.
And somehow I went to the Bible. Like, I don't know what was leading, man.
You can't watch over 500 of your old masterpieces and then watch the Bible and say, you know what? Let me dabble over here.
We
for
double
a
in
little."
this.
Nah, nigga.
We touch everything so far. We cover
No.
Zeus, we cover Hercules. Come on now. Let me go to the big dog here. Continuing this.
Crowley.
Yeah, that woman it. That the amount of people that went straight down.
Went straight
48
down.
minutes,
No, like. No.
You know,
Ain't
it
even,
is to see these.
ain't even need to check the lamb book of life or to show them back what they do in life. That's like straight down. Straight down. No stopping. Straight down. Straight down.
XMCD says to walk up, and my dog that'll be waiting by the gate will skip and say, yo, you ain't back there. No. Next way.
One time.
That
no.
is, bro.
Don't even come and plead that case. Just go down. Don't even waste the Lord's time. Don't even waste my God's time. Go down one time. Straight down. Straight down.
This
Straight
woman
down.
she would prostitute herself.
Mary, to all creatures.
The old creature. Whiz. I ain't tell that part and I ain't gonna write it.
To the great work. I will work for wickedness. I will kill my heart. I will be shameless before all men. I will freely prostitute my body to all creatures.
Oh. She don't for anything. These type of freaks that men and them want over there, no sir. Keep me. What is it? What is it? Proverbs 31 woman.
Proverbs 31 woman. You're gonna make me laugh so hard to go put my out.
That's me. That's me, bro.
It's 12 o'clock in the
Me, bro.
Titled Into Shambhala, Doctor Strange goes so far as to multiply himself in order to engage in sex magic. Strange splits himself into 100 versions to engage in a massive orgy with about 100 Hindu statues that have been brought to life by the goddess Maya. Folks, we can't even show you some of the kids' comics these days without blurring them out. They are so perverse. Let's not forget, and I cannot stress enough, that these perverse lies are targeting and corrupting all ages, especially our youngest people. Here we see Crowley, or should I say Doctor Strange, Sanctum Sanctorum, offered by Marvel as a kid's toy.
The
The
only warning should not be warning choking hazard. It should be warning summoning demons. Plain and simple. Like I being hyperbolic as plain and simple. Where's answer?
Then he wouldn't get the money.
So I buy too much to go into by. Mario's answer?
I forget the number. Alright. So we just gonna fly past the part where he split up into 100 of himself. I had intercourse with 100 different statues that came out.
Statues, eh?
Like what?
Mario, it's just fiction. Come on now.
And yet putting, a subculture in there, as much as you can get away with, and it informs you so that you have a way to work with this character, but also, these ideas start to seep out into the into popular culture in a way that is unexpected and people wouldn't necessarily be able to predict. I just think that's fascinating. It's perfect. These ideas start to seep out into into popular culture in a way that is unexpected and people wouldn't necessarily be able to predict.
I distinctly remember when I first encountered Crowley, it was like, holy Christ, this guy is really good and really out there, and how can I ever sort of get a handle on this? And then, reading and thinking and working through stuff.
Sure.
There came a time when I said, okay, I do have a handle on it. I'm not dumping on any particular era here. As I pass back by that, I remember just how cool that was. If you were really trying to find stuff out, you had a guy who had hung out with Aleister Crowley and knew what Crowley meant and could just sit there across the kitchen table from you over a glass of wine and tell you about it.
Engelhart's dedication by Satanist Aleister Crowley.
Dog. The crazy thing about it, right? Especially when people say it's just fiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you could watch that clip, and I'm referring this to like Christians specifically rather than unsaved and people who believe the Bible is fiction and whatnot, right? If you could watch that clip and still say it is just fiction, when the man who created, because Steve Englehart is a big comic writer, like he, and whenever like people always be like Marvel versus DC, like that is one of the dumbest arguments, because you're arguing about characters who were made by the same people pretty much. Both as you heard in the 70s and 80s, he was the main guy at Marvel and DC who pioneered Fantastic Four. Now, he didn't create the characters. He just write the comics and then that were adapted into movies, and the ones that were quickest to become movies and stuff. If you could hear that guy say that he went directly, learn magic, even if you think like, oh, magic not real and stuff, he's the rituals, the everything. He said that he did all the stuff and put it into this stuff in a way that it would, like seep into popular culture in such a way that people would not really be able to grasp it and stuff. And if you could still say it's just fiction as a Christian, my brother in Christ, you need to check that relationship with God. You need to really and truly marry, because that's like hardcore evidence. It can't get more solid than that. It literally cannot.
Mr. Betting, you're going to have somebody in the comments that go and say this is just fantasy.
It's just fantasy. So, even with that, and that's the sad part about it.
I realize people nowadays, like, they just see the truth in front of them, bro, but unless they accept it for themselves, they ain't going to.
You're right. Right, you know.
Crowley, key man to fight against God at both the creation of the universe and the end times, had a test run prior to his existence to see if the world was ready for a superhero modeled by Satanist Aleister Crowley in the form of Dr. Droom, not to be confused with Dr. Doom. Dr. Droom, as the Sorcerer Supreme, was a precursor to the one who would eventually be recast as Doctor Strange just 2 years later. Now notice the obvious resemblance between the magician Dr. Droom in his first appearance in 1961 and the obvious resemblance to Satanist and magician Aleister Crowley. There's no doubt once you examine the facts that Dr. Droom and later Dr. Strange were based on Satanist Aleister Crowley. In his Marvel origin story, Dr. Droom, like Aleister Crowley, is British. Like Crowley, he desires to go to the East for more occult knowledge. He states that he wants to acquire first-hand knowledge and learn about the mystical arts and practices. Like Crowley, Dr. Droom actually goes all the way to the Himalayas. Crowley made repeated infamous trips to the Himalayas, one in 1902 where he waved his revolver at other climbers and insisted he take his occult library up K2. Crowley returned to the Himalayas in 1905 when 4 members of his team fell to their deaths. He didn't even respond to their cries for help. He wrote that he had no sympathy for them and that he had passed their dead bodies later without even stopping. These deaths would be but a few of the many mysterious deaths that followed Crowley in his wicked wake, including several suicides and many professed child sacrifices. In Dr. Droom's origin story, he goes to visit an alien Tibetan Lama who needs medical attention. He will only find years later that the ancient Lama is the Ancient One in disguise.
That was real life. The story is based on a true story. The fictional story is based on the true story of the man.
Oh, he really went to the Himalayas?
He really went to the Himalayas and watched 4 of his followers die.
Like, that is... Nah. Wait, I thought they was talking about Dr. Drew.
Nope, they was talking about the man. And as we hear so far, Mr. I want to be the Antichrist from a young age. Yeah, like, that's the crazy thing about it. The fictional story is based on the story of the real man.
The Lama makes Dr. Droom face a series of trials to prove himself because he is dying and wants Dr. Droom to follow in his footsteps as the master of black magic. We have a new character in the works for Strange Tales. Just a 5-page filler, Dr. Strange. Steve Ditko is going to draw him. It has a sort of black magic theme. Merriam-Webster defines black magic as, quote, magic that is associated with the devil or with evil spirits, evil magic. Notice that when Doctor Strange was first rolled out in 1963, the Supreme Sorcerer was originally called the Master of Black Magic. However, 40 years earlier, on March 24th, 1923, when Aleister Crowley was molesting children as part of his sex magic cult, journalist John Bull, in an article entitled "The Wickedest Man in the World," had already dubbed Crowley Master of Black Magic, writing of his, quote, blasphemous and bestial ceremonies or orgies, and the amazing record of this degenerate poet and occultist, traitor, drug fiend, and master of black magic. He may well be described as the wickedest man in the world. Aleister Crowley admitted in his confessions, quote, I simply went over to Satan's side, and at this hour I cannot tell why, but I found myself passionately eager to serve my new master. I was not content to believe in a personal devil and serve him in the ordinary sense of the word. I wanted to get hold of him personally and become his chief of staff. Stan Lee still created Doctor Strange in the image of the Crowley and Dr. Droom as the Supreme Sorcerer. They even blatantly borrowed major elements from Dr. Droom's origin story, which again mirrored much of the life of Satanist Aleister Crowley. Like Dr. Droom, Dr. Strange goes to visit the Ancient One. Though no longer disguised as a Tibetan Lama, Dr. Strange, like Dr. Droom, also goes to the Himalayas. This time to a place called Kamar Taj, described as, quote, a hidden land high in the Himalayas. However, this time rather than going to give medical attention, as Dr. Droom did, Dr. Strange goes to receive medical attention for his mangled hands, which were harmed in a car accident. Like Dr. Droom, the arrogant Dr. Strange must pass a test before he is conferred with the power of black magic. Note in this comic how Dr. Droom, or Druid, is told that he was the precursor to Doctor Strange, and how Dr. Druid responds by stating, "But I never imagined I was simply a test run for Doctor Strange." Doctor Strange would...
They put that in the comic?
But I never imagined I was this test run for Doctor Strange.
They had the man say that in the comic book?
Who man, Dr. Drew?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because remember they changed it to be Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
And in the comic, the man was like, "Oh, so I was just a test run for this man?" Because you see how they intertwined the origin story with Doctor Strange and Dr. Droom, Aleister Crowley.
With the power of black magic. Note in this comic how Dr. Droom, or Druid, is told that he was the precursor to Doctor Strange, and how Dr. Druid responds by stating, "But I never imagined I was simply a test run for Doctor Strange." Doctor Strange would be infused with even more satanic symbolism than his predecessor, Dr. Droom. Here we see, like the founder of the Church of Satan, Anton LaVey, doing the devil horns. Here we see Doctor Strange repeatedly flashing the satanic salute. While Stan Lee had called for a facelift to be given to the Crowleyan sorcerer, Dr. Droom, it was left to Spider-Man creator Steve Ditko to pull it off. Steve Ditko promoted Doctor Strange as a practitioner of Satanism, or black magic, in his debut issue in July of 1963. This was the perfect time to grease the skids for countless youth to promote not only sorcery, but contact with demonic beings through drugs, which the Bible condemns as a form of sorcery, or pharmakeia, pharmakous, or pharmakon, in Revelation chapter 9, verses 19 and 20, Revelation chapter 18, verse 23, Revelation chapter 21, verse 8, and Revelation chapter 22, verses 14 and 15.
Deliver, I think, a leveling up of some of the intensity, especially just within certain images and certain deeds done and depicted in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There are certain things that are actually kind of shocking in a way I was not expecting this movie to go to in a horror kind of setting. So
yeah,
very much pleased by that. And it feels appropriately sinister and mystical and sort of outside the realm. They do really have a great grip on that sort of occultish end of the MCU, and it gets pretty demonic at points in a way I was kind of surprised by. It gets pretty demonic at points in a way I was kind of surprised by.
While these reviewers seem quite surprised that Marvel has gone so demonic with Doctor Strange, when you know the true history of Doctor Strange going way back to Dr. Droom as Aleister Crowley, this is not shocking at all. Yet the story gets even darker as we look at a witch who's introduced to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who has her roots right on the heels of Doctor Strange and has a relationship with him and the occult.
Well, I think we will take it at the halfway point, yes? This was, for wherever you guys hearing this, I'm gonna cut this. The first reaction to this documentary is, if you are a Marvel fan at all, especially if you're somebody who loves to say it's just fiction, click the link in the description below and go buy the Good Fight Ministries Marvel DC War on God Part 2 documentary. It would completely change how you view Marvel and all these things. If you could watch this and still not, I'm sorry, you really need to check that relationship with God, because this stuff is so loaded, so heavy. We can't even watch it out in one sitting. We'll watch the rest tomorrow, the Scarlet Witch and the closing aspects tomorrow, but this is, ensure to go check it out, especially if you're somebody that loves to say it's just fiction. None of this is just fiction. You hear where Doctor Strange comes from, the origin from the 1960s. It's not new Marvel Comics, it's the original Marvel Comics. So go and check it out in the link in the description. This is Mario, have any closing words for the people?
My mind blown. It's hurting. Whoever thinks that this is really fiction, that is crazy or mental. But yeah, good luck.
Yeah, all the best, you know, because I need
to pray.
We pray before we start.
Lord, hey.
Well, if you enjoyed it, because the reactions or whatnot, ensure to, I guess, leave a like, comment down below, whatever. Comment whatever down below. And subscribe for more fiction and media breakdowns and biblical breakdowns. Cause I'm not just gonna be focusing on Marvel like alone going forward. I'm gonna do more Bible-based stuff like Unsung Bible Heroes, and because this oh my god. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching to this point. Oh, Joe, and they are doing the Lord's work. It's dark, but they are doing the Lord's work. People need to know about this stuff.